Deep inside the African jungle, there was a hidden underground colony where a strange family of creatures lived in complete isolation. They believed every animal outside their tunnels was dangerous. To them, it didn't matter whether it was a giant lion or a tiny butterfly, every living thing in the forest could become a threat. Because of that fear, they never trusted outsiders and avoided all contact with other species. The one explaining these rules was an old grandfather figure named Toffee's grandpa. Toffee lived with him, his grandmother, and his two younger brothers. The five of them spent almost their entire lives underground, only leaving the tunnels when they absolutely needed food or water. Even then, they went outside one at a time and returned as quickly as possible. But unlike the others, Toffee secretly wondered what it would feel like to make friends with someone from outside the colony. One day, it was finally Toffee's turn to gather supplies. Before he left, his grandfather warned him once again to focus only on the mission, avoid talking to anyone, and come straight back home. Toffee nodded and headed toward a nearby stream to collect water. But when he arrived, he discovered the stream had nearly dried up. That's when a strange wild creature suddenly appeared behind him and apologized. The creature explained that it had been extremely thirsty and accidentally drank most of the water. Toffee remembered his grandfather's warnings about outsiders being dangerous, so without saying anything, he turned around to leave. But before he could escape, a giant eagle-like predator swooped down from the sky and grabbed the creature in its claws. Hearing its desperate cries for help, Toffee froze. He knew helping could put his own life at risk, but he couldn't ignore someone begging to survive. Without thinking twice, Toffee rushed forward and grabbed onto the struggling animal, pulling with all his strength. The flying beast was already struggling to carry its prey, and Toffee's extra weight forced it to lose control. Finally, the predator dropped both of them to the ground before flying away. The creature survived thanks to Toffee, but its body was badly injured, covered in deep claw marks. Even though it tried to act tough, it was clearly in pain. Toffee realized the injuries needed treatment, so he admitted that his family might have medicine back home. The injured animal immediately asked for help, and despite Toffee's hesitation, the two rushed toward the underground colony together. When they arrived, the noisy commotion attracted Toffee's grandfather, who came outside and was horrified to see a stranger near their home. Furious, he yelled at Toffee for bringing an outsider there and demanded the wounded creature leave immediately. Soon the rest of the family came out as well. Unlike Grandpa, the grandmother noticed the creature's injuries and decided to help. She brought medicine from inside the tunnels and carefully treated the wounds. The friendly outsider quickly bonded with Toffee's younger brothers, making them laugh while getting treated. But during all the excitement, an accident happened. The creature slipped and crashed into a nearby tree, disturbing a giant snake sleeping on its branches. The snake dropped directly toward the children. Acting instantly, the outsider pushed the snake away, but unfortunately sent it toward the younger brothers instead. Thankfully, Grandpa and Grandma reacted quickly. They distracted the snake by clapping loudly from different directions, confusing it until the creature accidentally tied itself into knots. Grandpa then grabbed the tangled snake and threw it far away. But during the struggle, Grandpa had been bitten. At first, he seemed fine, but moments later the poison began spreading through his body. The family carried him inside, but none of their medicine worked. Realizing he might not survive, Grandpa asked Toffee to promise that after his death, the family would continue living by their strict rule: never trust outsiders. Filled with guilt over what happened, Toffee agreed. He forced the injured creature to leave, blaming it for everything. But the outsider couldn't bring itself to walk away and instead stayed nearby, hoping there was still a way to help. As Grandpa's condition worsened, Grandma admitted the poison was spreading too fast. Desperate, Toffee shouted that there had to be some cure somewhere. That's when Grandpa weakly revealed an ancient legend. Somewhere beyond the farthest edge of the jungle, hidden past a deadly canyon, there supposedly bloomed a magical blue flower capable of curing any illness. But according to old stories, no one who went searching for it had ever returned alive. Even so, Toffee refused to give up. If there was even the smallest chance to save his grandfather, he would take it. That night, Toffee secretly prepared to leave before the next storm arrived. But the outsider overheard everything and followed him anyway. Even though Toffee insisted on traveling alone, the creature stubbornly refused to abandon him. Together, the two crossed dangerous forests and eventually reached a massive desert beyond the jungle. While traveling through the burning wasteland, they were attacked again by a giant flying predator. During the chase, The outsider explained that staying together was actually safer because the bird couldn't carry both of them for long. The predator laughed and revealed something terrifying. It didn't even need to kill them itself. The endless desert, with no water and brutal heat, would finish them off eventually. Despite the warning, Toffee continued forward, determined to save his grandfather no matter the cost. As the heat became unbearable, the pair discovered a tiny oasis. But there was barely enough water for one of them. Before they could decide what to do, a family of thirsty birds arrived carrying a starving baby chick. Feeling sorry for them, Toffee gave away his share of water instead. The grateful birds promised to repay his kindness someday before flying away, leaving Toffee with nothing to drink. Soon after, a rude desert rat mocked them for wasting their water. Angry and hungry, the two chased the rat underground, only to discover it had secretly been hoarding piles of fruit. Before they could take any, wild dog-like predators surrounded them. A chaotic fight broke out. At first, Toffee and his companion managed to fight back, but eventually they were overwhelmed. Then, thinking quickly, the outsiders smashed one of the strange fruits open. Sweet juice exploded everywhere, distracting the predators long enough for the pair to escape with a single fruit as emergency food. But when they finally stopped to eat it after hours of traveling, they made a shocking discovery. The fruit's owner had been hiding inside it the entire time because he was terrified of the fight earlier. At first, the tiny desert rat refused to share any of his food and kept complaining non-stop. But after seeing how exhausted and hungry the two travelers were, he eventually gave in and allowed them to eat. While they were resting, the rat sadly revealed the truth about himself. He had no family, no friends, and everyone treated him like he was useless. Surprisingly, Toffee's companion understood exactly how that felt. The two quickly bonded, becoming friends almost instantly. After hearing about the mission to find the legendary blue flower, the rat decided to help them. Since he knew the desert far better than they did, he offered to guide them safely across it. Following the rat's directions, the group eventually reached the far edge of the desert. In front of them stretched a massive ocean filled with endless water. Overjoyed, they rushed toward it and started drinking immediately, only to realize it was salt water. The water was undrinkable. Even worse, the beach was covered with skeletons of creatures that had clearly died searching for the same path. For a moment, the trio lost all hope. It felt like they had reached the end of the world itself. But while everyone was panicking, Toffee suddenly noticed something strange in the night sky. Bright stars were gathering together in unusual patterns. Looking closer, he remembered the clue his grandfather had given him before collapsing. Follow the night when the stars align. Using the lessons Grandpa once taught him, Toffee studied the constellations carefully until he spotted one shaped like a giant snake. That's when he finally understood the hidden meaning. They weren't supposed to travel to the end of the desert. They were supposed to travel beneath the snake star. Now that they finally knew the correct direction, the exhausted travelers decided to rest on the beach for the night. The next morning, they discovered strange insects collecting moisture from the air and storing water inside their bodies. Toffee tried copying them, but failed. Luckily, his furry companion's thick fur managed to absorb small amounts of filtered water from the ocean mist. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep them alive. Using the stars as their guide, they continued deeper into the wasteland until they arrived at a terrifying field of burning black stone. The ground was so hot it felt like lava beneath their feet. There was no time to go around it, so the group decided to cross during the night when temperatures were lower. At first, the plan worked, but the rocky field was far larger than expected. By sunrise, both Toffee and his companion completely collapsed from exhaustion. Unfortunately, the giant flying predator that had been stalking them the entire journey finally caught up. The beast patiently waited for the heat of the rocks to finish them off so it could eat them without a fight. The little rat desperately tried pulling them to safety, but he was far too weak to move them alone. In frustration, he screamed for help and unexpectedly woke up a young elephant sleeping nearby. Terrified at first, the rat begged the elephant for assistance. Thankfully, the gentle giant agreed. She charged at the predator and smacked it away with her trunk, forcing it to retreat. Thanks to the elephant, the group was carried to a nearby oasis where they finally regained consciousness. After drinking water and recovering some energy, Toffee immediately prepared to continue the journey. The rat, however, decided to stay behind with the elephant instead of risking his life any further. After saying goodbye, Toffee and his loyal companion continued onward alone. Soon after, they were caught inside a massive sandstorm. Seeing how dangerous it was, Toffee's friend begged him to stop and wait until it passed. But Toffee refused. He was running out of time to save his grandfather, and his desperation finally exploded into anger. In the middle of the storm, Toffee blamed everything on his companion, shouting that none of this would have happened if they had never met. Hurt by the cruel words, the companion disappeared into the storm. Not long after, the sandstorm ended. But when Toffee turned around, his friend was gone. Panic immediately hit him. Realizing what he had said, Toffee desperately searched everywhere, terrified his companion had died because of him. Then suddenly, he heard his name echoing from below. Following the voice, Toffee discovered a hidden hole beneath the sand. He rushed toward it too quickly and accidentally fell inside, plunging deep underwater. Toffee couldn't swim. Thankfully, his companion saved him just in time and pulled him onto a nearby rock. When Toffee regained consciousness, he noticed drawings carved into the stone. The pictures revealed the truth. His companion had always dreamed of becoming part of Toffee's family. Deeply moved, Toffee promised that once everything was over, they truly would become family. Now trapped underground, the two searched for a way out and discovered a hidden tunnel connected to a rushing river. But while following the current, they realized a gigantic flesh-eating fish was chasing them through the darkness. The pair swam desperately until they finally found an exit. They barely escaped the tunnel, but the giant fish remained trapped inside. Looking ahead, they noticed a huge rock formation shaped like a serpent. Realizing they had reached the place from Grandpa's legend, the two celebrated until an enormous snake monster suddenly emerged from the rocks and attacked them. At first, they had no idea how to fight it, but then Toffee remembered how his grandparents distracted the snake earlier back home. Using teamwork, the two moved to opposite sides and confused the monster by constantly drawing its attention back and forth. Toffee's companion took heavy hits during the fight, but refused to give up. Just as the snake prepared to strike again, the giant fish burst out from the tunnel behind them. Thinking quickly, Toffee's companion threw the snake directly into the fish's path. Both monsters were dragged away together by the raging water below. Finally, the path was clear. The two entered the hidden chamber beneath the serpent-shaped rock, expecting to find fields of glowing blue flowers. But there was nothing there. No flowers. No magic. Nothing. Exhausted and heartbroken, the two collapsed to the ground, believing the legend had been fake all along. That night, rain began falling over the empty land. The next morning, Toffee woke up and noticed a single tiny blue flower blooming from the wet ground. But before he could react, his companion accidentally ate it out of hunger. The moment he realized what happened, his companion became devastated. Feeling like he had ruined everything, he even considered throwing himself off a cliff out of guilt. But then Toffee looked around and froze. All across the valley, thousands of glowing blue flowers had bloomed overnight because of the rain. The legendary flowers were real. Overjoyed, the two gathered as many flowers as possible. But there was still one huge problem. How could they return home in time? Luckily, the bird family Toffee had helped earlier suddenly appeared in the sky. Wanting to repay his kindness, the birds agreed to carry them home. But during the flight back, Toffee noticed something horrifying. His companion had stopped moving, and exhaustion had finally become too much. No matter what they tried, he couldn't continue any longer. Accepting the truth, the companion sadly told Toffee to leave him behind and save his grandfather. Toffee didn't want to abandon him, but there was no choice. After a heartbreaking goodbye, Toffee continued home alone while the birds carried him across the desert. Meanwhile, the giant predator returned to where Toffee's companion had been left behind. As Toffee flew home, memories of their journey together replayed in his mind. By the time he reached the oasis again, the little rat immediately asked where his friend was. Toffee could only respond with tears. Finally reaching home, Toffee quickly crushed the blue flowers into medicine and gave it to his grandfather. But he was too late. Grandpa didn't wake up. Devastated, Toffee walked outside to thank the birds for bringing him home, when suddenly he heard Grandpa's voice behind him asking why everyone was making so much noise. The entire family froze in shock. The medicine had worked after all. Grandpa had simply fallen into an incredibly deep sleep while recovering. Overjoyed, Toffee explained everything that had happened during the journey and told the family how his companion had helped him find the flowers. But remembering that his friend was still far away, possibly dying, broke Toffee's heart once again. Then suddenly, a familiar shadow appeared. The giant predator landed nearby, carrying Toffee's companion safely on its back. The beast explained that after watching the two throughout their journey, it had realized something important. The pair survived because they stayed together. Respecting their courage and friendship, the predator chose not to eat the injured companion and instead brought him home. Everyone was overwhelmed with happiness. But Grandpa still hesitated, reminding them of the family rule about never trusting outsiders. Understanding the situation, Toffee's companion quietly decided to leave so the family wouldn't fight because of him. That's when Toffee finally stood up for his friend. He declared that without this outsider, none of them would have survived, and Grandpa never would have been saved. Toffee refused to follow the old rule anymore. Hearing those words, Grandpa finally realized his fear had been wrong all along. As rain began pouring outside the tunnels, Grandpa called the companion back and invited him into their home. And just like he promised, Toffee officially welcomed him as part of the family. Together, the two walked into the underground home side by side, finally no longer alone.